Yeah, so we're live here. Margarita, it's been a while since we've communicated. I've seen your face actually. Um, we did communicate when I was in Mexico. That was interesting to hear some of your perspectives on certain certain spiritual events that were occurring. But we can dive into that here shortly. Do you think you are willing to do like an opening prayer of your choice to like create sacred space for this event um, as we travel into maybe some unknown portals. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So I had planned on using my kobushko meat, which is we use to burn the kopal and kind of cleanse the space and cleanse our each one of us, our energy, our auras. But I'm not in a place where I can do that at this moment, but
Yeah,
maybe
Kopal
I
and
can
Bougie
set.
over there.
You have sage? Is that what you're burning there?
Yeah, I've been burning sage to pre-cleanse, and I pulled
Okay,
a
yeah.
card from the archetypes deck too for your section
It's
here.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
So I have just a little bit of sage right here. Um, and no. I'm not gonna light it. I'm just gonna hold it here because sage is also very sacred. Um, Sage is something that really helps us. It's one of our relatives, and it's always here for us. Some tribes won't even burn it. Some people
what
won't even burn it because it's
what's
that
that?
sacred,
Oh, because it's
because
yeah.
of the sacredness of it. So they don't want to burn it.
Okay.
And some people do burn it, and that's okay. So I have the sage here, and I just kind of want to start with three deep breaths in and out, because when we do three deep breaths, it creates a reset. And also, here's something to think about. A good friend of mine shared um, in a workshop recently. He is also a dancer, and he said that when you breathe in deep, it's like your lungs are expanding and they're giving your heart a hug. So
Hmm.
it's like a heart hug. And something that's even powerful too is if you have someone that you're close enough and you can give them a hug and you guys can breathe in three deep breaths together. And it's like giving a heart hugs. And
Hmm.
it's just a really beautiful connection. So in this moment, when taking the deep breaths in, I want to give the intention of giving a heartfelt hug to each and every one of you, and with the with the sacred land here, our relative, our friend who helps us. So so we'll start with the first deep breath. We're gonna breathe in to the count of four, and then we're gonna hold for four. We'll release for six, and then we'll hold for two, and then we'll take the next deep breath in, and we'll do the same counting sequence. So ready? Breathe in, two, three, four, hold, two, three, four, release, two, three, four, five, six, hold, two, breathe in, two, three, four, hold, two, three, four, release, two, three, four, five, six, hold, two, breathe in, two, three, four, hold, two, three, four, release, two, three, four, five, six, hold, two. Okay.
That's that intense breath work. That's really interesting, Margarita. Evema is her real name. We can talk about what that means to you. It's actually a very spiritual name, but before, very intentional name and very biblical too. Indigenously driven. Uh, but we did that same similar breath work before in Mexico down in San Pancho at the ice bath, the ice plunge, where you sit in the ice buckets, where you hold your breath, and it's almost like you like want to breathe but you can't breathe. But it puts it what they were telling me. So thank you for that first and foremost. They were telling me that it puts you into a fight or flight state of response consciousness, energetically, when you hold your breath like that and do the recycle, and the numbers you're using are obviously have deep meaning too. Uh, I just noticed that you put your other name on there. I
Yeah.
don't I I don't know where to start here with you because there is much so much beauty, so much alchemy, so much just like your whole together, your darkness, your light, your goddess, your internal woman, your doula, your creation, your vision, your lineage is just it's just something I try to explain. Like I explain to people, but you just can't really freaking tell someone who the Margarita Epemai is without her being there. So thank you for jumping on and sharing your medicine with us. Um, you know, so here we got Lucia put some heart movie plant emoji. So yeah, love it.
Hi. I'm
So
so
what's
happy
up,
you're
Liz?
here. Yeah.
Yeah, so people will be tuning in later here and there on the replay. There's a great. Will you introduce yourself a little bit? How you used to explain in Talking Circle when I met you there, or I before I met you, I'd hear you speak, and you would kind of like introduce yourself of your lineage of like where you come from, ethnicity wise, and a little bit of background of why even my Margarita Lopez is so powerful and indigenously rooted and or just who she is. Like who are you? Where do you come from? What blood
Oh my
lineage are you
gosh.
made of?
So,
Yeah,
well,
that's the
just
one.
like just like all of me, I'm a little bit layered. I'm a little bit dimensional. I have many facets to myself, and I've spent much time really just taking that time to go internally and connect with myself and find out who I am. And that's been the most important work of my life. It's been the hardest. I'll tell you, it's been the hardest. So my name actually, the name that I was given is Margarita Norma Marie Lopez de la Torriente. So that's my name, my legal name. And so through my journey through this process of just coming back into myself, um, is the name Evimai came. So I'll just tell you a little bit about my journey. I have 7 children, and two of them passed away 4 years apart. They were both 16 when they passed. And I also have grandchildren now. I have 3 grandchildren and one on the way, and I love them so much. I love all of my children. And so when my first son died, I got really angry. I felt like it didn't affect me, but I've been told later now that I'm at this part of my journey, that when that happened, I was unrecognizable. I was just really angry. And those are just kind of some side effects that happen from losing my son. From That's what I felt, I felt at that time. And so then when my second son passed away 4 years later, I was devastated, and I just left. My mind and my soul just left, and I was just a shell. And so what happens in that situation, and I hadn't realized until after, I didn't have a label to put on it or names, and I'm not really good with labels and things like that. But sometimes it does help to know what you're going through when you have something that can actually explain it. So after going through the whole process, I later read a book, and it's the Toltec Path to Recapitulation. And
Mm.
as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I went through. This is exactly the growth that happened for me. So, what it explains in there is that when these things happen, where we get to a point in our life where we just kind of give up and give in, and we just kind of leave, our body needs a soul, it needs that life force. So the body has an immune system, and the immune system kicks in, and it starts bringing back the pieces of the soul little by little. And I remember I very clearly going through this process. And one thing that was very vital through this process is that I had to be willing to open my heart and to open my mind to what I was seeing. If there were things that were hard about myself, there were hard truths about myself, like how did I show up? How did I hurt somebody? How was I? Because one of the main questions that I asked was, well, if I have two children that passed away, what then is my role? What did what part did I play in um, the in their lives, and in their deaths? And so I went into some really hard truths. And I remember the other day, Lucia was mentioning that, right, with the children, and how we must be, and that we are also the abusers. And so
Mm.
we may look at our parents, but do we look at ourselves? And do we look at what are we doing? What are our conscious actions, choices, decisions, the things that we say, the things that we do? How is that affecting our children? And in what way? And so I went into a very in-depth search of my psyche, of my soul, of my mind, of my heart, of my spirit. I went through everything, just examining everything and digesting that, and loving myself anyway. And that wasn't easy at first, but it's very important to love ourselves. And while going through this
Mm.
process, I was able to gain self respect, because I started making the changes that I felt within my internal self needed to be changed or adjusted or tweaked, because we're not necessarily bad people, but we do make choices based on where we are on a conscious emotional level and psychological. And so by being 100% integratedly honest with ourselves, about ourselves and about our environments and everyone around, about our past, present, and futures, about even one thing that has been vitally important has been looking into my ancestry and looking into just not necessarily ancestry, because that sounds a little too displaced, but looking
Mm.
into just my mother, my grandmother, my grandfather, my great grandmother, those different things that, and those different traumas, or those different triumphs, or those different things that went with their lives and those things that are shared with us in this time.
So
That has been very
why
important.
did you say displaced? Because there's a pinpoint there. I could see running off and creating some confusion in my internal engineering and understanding of who I am and what I am. Uh, because like ancestry, like it is like yes, the immediate ones that we do know of, we have may have met before. You're talking about, correct?
No,
Not
I
necessarily.
mean just like my great grandmother, she passed away 13 years before I was born, but
Oh,
she
okay.
was I didn't meet her personally in the physical, but she does, her traumas do carry over into everything that's happening in my family line right
Hmm.
now. Everything that's happening in all the fractures and the shatters and the pains and the happinesses and everything. All of these things are playing out and they come from, a lot of it comes from her. And so it's going in and it's just really intimately connecting with her. And it's knowing her and it's being her, it's being with her and just sitting there and listening. What does she have to say? What is it that within that area, what lives inside of me, and therefore what can I connect with and I can kind of turn within myself and heal within myself so that I can go forward. And the reason why this work is so important is because it's been carrying what people call curses in our families. It's been
Mm.
carrying this within our family up until now. But how bad is it now? Because it's pretty bad at this point. So is it going to get worse, or am I going to be no? You know what? I don't deserve this. My siblings didn't deserve this. Our children didn't deserve this, and maybe our parents didn't deserve this. So who's going to stand up and take the responsibility to find out what's really happening in our family line and to say, you know what? It's not happening anymore. Not after me.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to
Yep.
do whatever it takes to change the legacy and give blessings to the rest of my family line going forward. And I feel like I
Yes.
have an obligation and a responsibility because when a person knows the difference between right and wrong, and you know what, saying that might be a little bit controversial for some people, but definitely there are good things to do, and definitely there are detrimental things that we do. So there's 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 no question about that. So is the movements that I make forward from here on out, are they going to be detrimental to my being, or are they going to be beneficial? Are they going to be
Mm.
detrimental to my children and grandchildren, or are they going to be
Mm.
beneficial? And once we just are apparently just honest with ourselves about this, then we can actually make change and we can be there and we can be there for our children and we can be there for our grandchildren. But because when we know the difference between what is detrimental and what is beneficial and we allow it to continue, then then we are we have an obligation to make those changes. If not, that's something that we carry. That's a guilt and a shame that we take on into our personal internal psyches, and we then go forward and we punish ourselves and we punish others because we're refusing to look at that and take responsibility.
Mm. I 100% claro on that clarity. She get guilt again. Guilt and shame are definitely two of the biggest things that have held me back, and inadequate feelings and self-destructive thoughts root stem from that stuff. And you're talking about here breaking generational curses, something that, like they would say, like a black sheep or the alien of the family, the outcast, the misfit, the woo-woo spiritual kid of the family. Like people like us, like goes off and has a vision like you did, called Beyond Your Impossible, for that flyer back there. Shout out to J-Doll Designs, who designed the snake and the whole flyer. Much love, and the book. dude, that book, your vision on this freaking, oh, that whole event was just glorious. And I was gifted that book when we went to the coffee shop before the event. And look at her ethereal design with the snake and the rose. That was so intentionally put with Margarita's
It-
vision, and it was a trifecta created like the with three of us to get that vision together. And she freely gave it to the event. And then she's also the creator of the golden triangle for that says GG for the Gaia Gang elevation retreat. um so big shout out to J Doll Designs, IG, Facebook. She does graphic design work for companies all over the place, many states, many realms of existence. But that book that you guys ended up manifesting, y'all or that came into existence, brought another person from another state who printed them for us. So much love to him. And
Great. Yeah, thank you,
Oh,
Greg.
Gregory, dude, gotta
Greg.
love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
He's
just came down with
he's a
boxes
powerhouse
of
for
them,
sure.
dude. But I took that book, and you inspired me. Not set aside everybody else and everything that happened at that event that we all co-created together. Um, and a unionization and your beautiful freaking amazing water blessing that only very few of us stayed to the end for. um it was tough to trust me. It was very tough to stay till past like 1, 2, 3 in the morning. It was dumping molecules of charged water into the river after being there since what, like 6, 7 a.m. So we
I don't think
were
it was that late. I think
it felt like it, man. Like we
it
were
wasn't that.
ecstatic dancing, but like
You gotta build
y'all.
up that stamina, Jason.
I was dancing, man. No excuses. No, I was there. I made it. Okay, I was, and that's all. Build up that stamina. I gotta hit the gym, whatever. Get that bag going. But so anyways, I brought those intentions around the world with me internally because water is life. Water is everything. Water is a molecule that gives the plants us over 93% made of water. If without water, it's the element that I believe would not exist. And your vision on that was beautiful. Do you want to talk a little bit about that before I carry on and to how
Yeah, I want
inspired
to
that
say
made
a
me?
little bit about the image. So we have the moon here. We have the moon. So the moon is a reflector. It's a mirror.
Mm,
And so we're looking at our internal mirrors here. And when we're able to look at everything honestly, um, then we clean our mirrors. Because if not, they're smoky and
mm.
we're lying to ourselves. I can't see you. I can't see you. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Oh, an addiction. Oh, wait. That's not real. No, wait. No, you know,
Yeah, totally.
different
I
things.
mean,
And
that's
there's
the.
so many addictions. They could be things that our feelings, our emotions. They could be things that we say. They could be things that we do on a regular. They could be food that we eat. It doesn't have to only be alcohol and other kind of substances. So
Mm,
when we can look at that. So um, a lot of times maybe even attention getting or different things. So we look at our mirrors and we look at them honestly. And then when we do that with love instead of criticism and judgment, like you mentioned a little bit earlier about being black sheep of the family and things like this, a lot of times when we tend to rock the boat and we don't do what everyone else in our family thinks that we should do or say what anybody says thinks that we should say or react in the way that they want us to react. Well, I thought that we had our individual spirit, even though, we're all connected, but that doesn't mean that we all have to do and say the same thing because
mm,
a body, it has many different types of cells. It has bone cells, skin cells, organ cells, or lungs, liver, heart, brain. There's all different kinds of cells that function in different ways in our body. So we can be different. And I think ones like you and I and others, Um, we're here and we're different for a reason because we're here to break those curses. And how
Yeah.
can we break those curses if we're stuck doing the same thing that everybody else in the family is doing? So it's definitely hard work, and it's hard to be in the front end of everybody's denials, right? Because basically they're living in denial about a lot of things. And so we're the ones who step up with the hard truths and we
But
face it.
it's okay that that's perfect that they are, because
It is, it's
without
okay.
the
I'm not criticizing, no judgment.
right, right, no judgment, but the
It's just
fact
the
that
way
they
it
are
is.
living in denial and it is what it is, and they can't see past the conditioned 3D realities, um, gives us the stage to speak and help assist the greater awakening. Our higher purposes arise, and we can lead the new generations, the descendants, and into the ways if they desire to, and give them options that weren't given to us as children. That's why I
Mhm.
love your concept of raising geniuses. I mean, I don't know if we're jumping into that too early, but you since you've had a lot of experience being a death doula, a spiritual death doula, and a real doula in life, and going through those traumas, man, like, and also your beautiful children. Freaking shout out to you. You know who he is, the oldest one.
Yeah,
I adore him so much. He's fun to kick it with. Anyways, we can hold that light, and we can, if they don't want to take it, they don't want to take it. Not necessarily generational gaps, and technology has gotten between things. Things are obsolete these days due to missing information. Like, if when we were at the talking circle, there is no book written on the red road. Like, we get to listen to elders and real grandfathers and uncles and aunts and cousins speak their experience of the red road. It wasn't written, it's being spoken and expressed. And you gave me a copy of that book and inspired me to go to, when I was already going to Mexico, but it inspired me to go to Mexico even more. And I canceled my plane ticket 3 weeks in. Like, I'm going beyond my impossible, baby. What you
there you
talking about?
go. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I grabbed that book. For the life of me, I couldn't find it tonight. I've been cleaning, um, and I wrote a lot in it. A lot of it was practicing Spanish. A lot of it was different things and ideas and poetry and songs and collective visions that were coming here and there. And I mean, that book does not look as clean as your book does. So I'm glad you brought the fresh one. Yeah, so thank you for inspiring me to go beyond my impossible down there, because like I am, like my buddy Pete told me, he was like, you impressed me that, like, he's been down there for 13 years, and he was like, you decided, he's seen a lot of people go to see him, and say the same thing. Oh, I'm gonna stay and do this and blah blah blah. And he was like, but you really impressed me. Not saying I'm better or worse or anything than anybody else. Like, everyone's situation is different, but like, he was like, you actually stayed down here. You left my side. You went from, like, I went from like Lodo Marcos to Planeta to like San Pancho Sayulita, the jungles to Vallarta, pretty much like 90% of that, like, I did all on my own with knowing just a little enough Spanish, but using your book to write it down, this like expressionate, passionate desire to like, yes, I get to go to the store and order. So like, ¿quién es esto? A half kilo of pollo, por favor. And like, learning from meeting friends, like, and there's this expression and embodying the culture, and like meeting people that, like, you're just like the frequencies of the waves down there, like I was talking about with Lucia, and like, and other people. It's like, it's just like free. It's like, you do what you are, you be what you are, you express how you are. There's no parole when you get out of prison. There's no drug court. You don't have to go to rehab. It's like, you either get it or you don't, and like, and it's up here they like force all these programs because it's a corporation. USA is a corporation. I'm not saying anything's better or worse, but it felt like I felt this freedom, and it's like in these small little beach pueblos, like just being able to like meeting people, and then you meet it. It's not like you have to make call them and text them and make them a meeting, like, oh, I'm gonna meet you at the cafe today. Let's make sure we're all there. Like, I'll be there at 6:30, and make sure we all meet together. We have to be in line with the matrix and all this. And I know I'm part of that too up here, but even down there. But it's just the freedom of walking to the store and seeing the same little people in a tiny beach pueblos, and like getting to know them, like the local avocado farmer, or like the local tienda owner or the cafe owner, like from Mexico City, who left to start it. And then you make connection. I desire connection for life. And then it's just like happens naturally. Like my phone percentage when I was down there, as much as I was posting, went down 80%. That is insane, because you were talking addictions. One of the biggest addictions is social media. They say that social media mentally is more addicting than heroin is physically. Today is
Mm.
actually like my fifth or sixth year free from heroin. It's my
That's
I did not plan that. It's funny. And um I don't
that's
even
what's
count. I don't even
important
count
to
anymore.
see.
Yeah, it's a very important landmark. But I don't even like counting, because that adds to the ego. Like, when you go in other programs and you have to get a chip, and it's like, oh, I have this amount of much time, this amount of much time. Like, who cares? That's where the shame and guilt comes, because I have to make that guilty walk of shame to pick up a newcomer chip, because I took a pill to go to sleep or something, or I took a hit off of some medicine, and it's not allowed in one of the steps that was written for me. It's a great, great program. It helped me save my life. But I like, there's a pharmacia on every corner down there. I could have got my favorite source of pills on the planet, which is opiates, anytime I wanted without a doctor's prescription. I did not, because I went beyond my possible, beyond my own condition, beliefs of programs and recovery. I went beyond harm addiction. I sought out plant medicine. I didn't, and I learned the ways of it, and integrated it into my life and embodied the culture the best I can. And when I was celebrating, another reason I really wanted to stay is to celebrate Dia de los Muertos and honor all the dead. Like, a lot of people have died this year, like, whether it's my personal families, people I know, people people, famous people, kids, animals, like you name it. And again, all to the past, I wanted to honor and celebrate that. And I realized when I was there, I was talking to you, I remember, Margarita, on the phone. um they would blow these bombs off, like during like the Halloween time and pre-Halloween, 'cause it's not really Halloween, was a stolen tradition. um and I was like, what are these freaking bombs? It sounds like we're in the middle of Ukraine. And then, like, I was over there with these beach surfers playing guitar and stuff. And one of the elders, Mexican dudes, like, he was saying, like, explaining in uh Spanglish, like, what they were. And they were for the Virgin Mary explosives to scare away evil spirits. And I was like, wow, that it's so new to me and so beautiful, because, like, I worked with forms of Virgin Mary becoming baptized from Catholic when I was a kid, and known of it for so long. And I started to love the synchronicities of the bombs. Like, I would have a thought, like, this is probably a bad idea. And then it would be like, I'm like, okay, thank you, Virgin Mary. I have so much love for you. And but then I text. First thing I did was text you about it, because I knew you had, or we had connected somehow, and I knew you had some information on this. Being who you are, and you explained something to me about the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, and like, they during colonization they had condensed it into one day, maybe two, but it was originally 4 days. And
Would
then
you like
why?
me to
I,
go
I
into
was
that?
Here we go. Your stage. You run it
Okay.
up. Like, this is it. Like,
There
I
was
was
a
trying to
lot there. You just
set
let
you
off
up.
so many bombs right there, Sam. It was
Ah!
amazing. I was like, oh, wait, how's Scott? How's Scott? Let me, when do I jump in here? Because you gave so many golden nuggets
Okay,
in that.
hold on. He said we got a comment here. It's not a stolen tradition. Um, why do you say that, Lucidate? Let's see what he says. Why you tell us about the Virgin Mary? He does have some valuable information. He's very well versed with other traditions. Um, okay, so go out. Will you tell us about the? I love being fact checked, and corrected when I'm wrong. So
So
he's always willing to do it.
could you say what was the comment was again?
Here I'll pop it up. It says, "I said Halloween it was a stolen tradition." He said it's not a stolen tradition.
Oh,
LOL.
about Halloween. Yeah, well, none of that has to do with Halloween. Yeah, Halloween is
It's
something else. It's a whole nother thing. It has nothing to do with
yeah.
any
So
of this.
so
But
it's funny. Yeah. So they're blowing the bombs off during like the Halloween time. I guess I'm
would it be
confused on
Halloween
that.
time up here,
Up
but not
here in
down
U.S.,
there?
but not down there. It's Dia de los Muertos. So I was under the impression that like the Christianity or whatever, something, maybe paganism, it comes from there. I don't know. He would know more. Maybe he'll type. But I never studied in too much into that. I like the roots of Dia de los Muertos because we're over here, and it screams more home to the indigenous lands. So will you tell us more about what that 4 days means?
So,
Or this
yeah,
yeah,
I'll
it's just
just
he said that. Okay.
so
Celebration of the dead. But that's
yeah,
what that
there
is.
it's a
Yeah.
sacred time.
Okay.
It These are sacred ceremonies and festivals that are to honor the dead. We have and those who have passed on, who have but there's there's 18 months out of the year in the sunstone, and so there's a study of those times, and each of those, they're called veintenas because they're 20 days each, and um, each day has its own energetic signature, and it works in its own ways within nature. So when we study that, then we also can connect with that, connect with ourselves because we're nature. Anyways, there's one of those veintenas, 20 days, is dedicated to children who have passed on, whether they were drowning or by accident. There's another 20 days to honor the women who died in childbirth. There's another 20 days to honor the warriors. And there's another 20 days for the rest of everybody. And so um, now there's a 40 days of altar of 40 days
Mm.
where we have dance and celebrations and ceremonies and things like this. This year, I was asked to go to, if I wanted to go to a Day of the Dead parade, and I went, and I was shocked because it was mixed with the Halloween. And I was just looking around and I was seeing the different things, and it looks like commercialization, you know, all of these
Well,
things have taken over and they turned it into a costume. They turned um, they turned things into costumes. They turned it and they connected it with Halloween, and they put it all in one bunch. And um,
right. That's where I'm
so-
confused here.
yeah,
Um,
so it's not part of Halloween and
Not that part. Yeah.
anything like that. There's sacred ceremonies, and it's not just a one day. Um, we have altars for 40 days.
Yes, so that's the part
Dancing.
that makes me confused, which might make others confused. So I just Googled the roots of Halloween. So thank you, Pinky, for that, because I knew he had knowledge on it. And so it said, yet Halloween holiday has its roots in the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, a Gaelic word for Samhain, a pagan religious celebration, the harvest, the end of the summer. when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off ghosts. So it's similar coming from the pagan European roots, but somehow it got mixed in with Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, where it's an honor rather than to scare away. Um, so I'm not saying either one's more better or worse. They're fun celebrations. One just got condensed, it seems like, and colonization, as you're talking about. I didn't realize it's 40 days there's an altar burning. I thought it was just 4 days, one for the kids, one for the warriors, one for the animals, and then one for everybody. But you're saying 40 days.
So yeah, so different parts of, so you have one country, right? You have Mexico, but within that country you have several states, and you have some, different regions and things like this. So different places are going to speak Spanish different. They're gonna make enchiladas different. They're
Yeah,
gonna do different celebrations a little bit different, and it all depends on just how everything's settled. Which again, this goes back into our ancestral histories and what were the effects of colonization on the people. And when I went back to mine, I'm looking at things that happened and I'm looking at how that's affecting my family today. And when I look all around, I see colonization everywhere. I see the colonization mind living within all of us to one degree or another. And it's still carrying forward, and we're still not aware of it completely. So we're still harming each other in a colonization way. Um, and so that goes back to, okay, how how were these celebrations, how were these sacred ceremonies looked at by people who came here? Yeah, both got condensed. So what did the effects of colonization do? So how they both got condensed, right? How does that affect then the people? How does that affect our knowledge and our ways? Because when we connect with these sacred ceremonies, when we connect with these times, then and we're connecting with our ancestors. And well, I saw something very kind of interesting. I'm just gonna say interesting. I saw a post recently about sweetgrass
hmm.
and the importance of sweetgrass because in the times before the colonization occurred, we had our sacred ceremonies and our ancestors could come and they could be easily come to us because we had those spaces for that. As colonization progressed, then it blocked a lot of that, a lot of it. It blocked a lot, our language, our songs. It blocked our traditions and things like that. And so,
Here,
sweetgrass
here,
is being used. Sweetgrass can be used in a way to you light it, and our ancestors can smell it. It's a beautiful, sweet smell, and they can come and find us because the ways that they could
hmm,
find us
hmm.
before, maybe they're not there anymore because of all of those different effects of that colonization. So we've had to learn how to innovate. And by looking at those things within our own family, we can see where it did affect our family and where it's affecting us now and where can we innovate. So that's when we can innovate, then we can go beyond our impossible.
Yeah, innovation is like roots from the stems of many indigenous researches that I have put my action into and found that dream work definitely is one of them. However way you present it, the native way, the Mayan way, planting seeds in all cultures. In all religions and spiritual ideologies, like there's always a seed that is planted of some sort and it's called something. Everything is unionized. Like we already see that. Like why are the pyramids over there? And then why are these pyramids over here and all in the same grid work and alchemizing the same energy? And then why did they choose to colonize? I actually went down there and have pictures of the churches of the Spaniards, of me standing in the bell, um, standing by the bell where they put them on top of the pyramids. And you know why they put them on top of the pyramids? You already know. It's because those used to be sacred, ancient pyramid structures that were charged up through the water and the elements of to have some sort of metal like a gold or something that is producing energy that goes to the channels to the peak of it that speaks to like as above and so below. Like when you look at the Mayan calendar, it breaks it down exactly at the top and the bottom. You showed me that when we went to have coffee that one day. You busted out the Mayan calendar and you're like, so this is the as above and this is the so below.
It's the sunstone.
The sunstone, yes.
Yeah, which
Okay,
people call the Aztec calendar. So there is differences and there's similarities between the Mayan and the Mexica. So people call Aztec, but it's more closer to call Mexica instead. But it's the
Mexica would be
sunstone.
like pre indigenous. So you're talking about before Mayan, Toltec
That's
or
Toltec.
Aztec. Toltec.
Toltec is the base knowledge, the base
Right, right,
reference.
right.
There's a difference between the cultures because there's a difference in language, there's a difference in expression, there's a difference in the creativity that comes through, and remembering also that each spot on the earth has its own energetic frequency, its resonance, and the symphony that it's singing, and each person has has their own symphony, and together as a people, as a family, as a community, there's a whole nother symphony together. And then if you add the structures, you add the elements, you add these different things, and you add what the people are then creating, it's going to come out in a different way, but there are there are similarities,
Okay,
just
so
like there are
you're
similarities here in Mexico, in Central South America. There are similarities also with tribes up in the United States and Canada, Alaska, Hawaii. There's many different similarities, even in Asia, in India, and Egypt, and things like that. There's a lot of
right.
similarities.
So yes, we see that clarity 100. So like, I want to ask you this question because there's a lot of people who stick to the traditional roots that have issues with things popping up these days. We already moved beyond the new agey woo woo stuff. Like we're past that. Um, so like we're at a place in time where people are starting like because of technology, because of things like this and elevation retreats and also TikTok and people bringing science, religion, and spirituality and all kind of stuff together and putting their own conclusions to things. What doesn't matter what race they are. Like I've seen facilitators bring in uh bring in Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent mixed with other archetypes and mixed with these, and they make up their own. They pick and pull from like flowers, pick and pull from different traditions, put them in a bouquet and propagate it into their own integration, into their own energy system, and they engineer that to facilitate. So there, I see some wisdom keepers and elders and people like you that have such diehard passion for like the original roots. I don't know if what your opinion is, but or perspective or perception that like there's some issues going on here that they're not being respected or they're being appropriated. Also, but what are these people's intentions? Like like I've been through some of these ceremonies and they've been beautiful. They've been honored and respected well. We did. It's like we don't have. I didn't have a choice whether or not that's real and realism. That like I was born in California. Yes. Now, if I look into my like, yes, I did choose my mother and father spiritually. Beyond that, but I didn't know what I was stepping into I could say I do now. Um, you know, so you look past all the traditions, past California used to be Mexico, but then Mexico used to be just tierra, it was just dirt. And then there was no words for it. There was just like people like drawing things on walls like hieroglyphs. So like you look back before time even existed, like as a humanity, as a human race, there was no traditions. It was the moon, the stars, and the elements, and the ether and the air is what we call today the five elements. The fifth element, ether. Um, it was just, there wasn't anything. So like, what is this big issue going on? Like some people want to hold on, die hard. It's usually the elders that like have to do it because that's their purpose. But there's a new generation arising, mixing and melting and alchemizing these pots together to create these flowers that are beautiful. Like
Well,
well, how do you feel about
it's
that?
kind of like I'm gonna go to the store and I'm gonna look for a flower at the store. And I don't know if you've ever seen the flowers that have been painted. They're painted. They're not their true color. They've been painted one or way or another. Or I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get an orange, but the orange doesn't have any seeds. What does that tell me? It's not fertile.
Mm.
How can an orange not have seeds and be real? One time I took about 2 to 3 years to find an orange that had seeds in it.
What?
2 to 3 years, and I ate oranges all the time because I was looking for them. And it took me 2 to 3 years of eating oranges to find ones with seeds. It was just one or two of them had seeds. And what did I do? I took them and I planted them, and they did grow. Um,
Hmm.
but it's like when people see, for instance, I'm gonna say individuals that are still carrying traces of the colonial mind. Um, there's there's a sense of lack because, and I'm just saying there seems to be a sense of lacking, like maybe a feeling of not having a own culture. And so there's individuals rich with culture. So it's like maybe you're swimming in the water and you're drowning and you need help and you reach out wherever you can, and you reach out to whatever you can find. And a lot of times when we don't have something, then we look to compensate for what we
Mm.
don't have, and sometimes we overcompensate. So one thing that I would really love to see is more and more people going to their own original roots, going and trying to find them. I know sometimes with this whole process, a lot of people have lost their history. And one thing that I've been able to do, just as my own experience, when I go and I connect with nature and I just sit there and I don't have anything, but I just be. I don't want anything. I don't need
Mm-hmm.
anything. I just be. And
Right.
I breathe and I become one with it all. With the air that flows. If it's nighttime, the night. If it's daytime, the light. With the trees, with the grass, with the crickets that are singing. I went to Costa Rica in February and I got to spend some time in the jungle. And there's
Nice.
these amazing um, little beetles. Well, big beetles. They're big. They're everywhere, and they sing all day long. All day long they sing, and at nighttime they do get louder. And the male sings even louder because he's trying to catch his uh, his girlfriend. But they're so beautiful, and I got to sit there in the jungle and I got to see the banana trees just kind of dancing. And I was listening to the Beatles. And what I noticed is that the jungle was dancing to the tune of the Beatles. And the
Yes.
Beatles were singing to the tune of the wind, and it was just so beautiful. So, connecting with that,
Yeah,
it
I
helps
know.
to then go in and connect with ourselves. And when we do that, then we can start to remember those things about ourselves, about our family that are in here. And we don't need to go and start um, say, oh, well, they do that. Let me do that. Well,
Mm.
maybe that's not something.
It's not
Maybe you
authentic.
will connect with the jungle. You don't have a jungle? Okay, there's so many mountains around here.
Yeah, yeah.
There's so many different waterways. There's hot springs. There's all different kinds of things around here that one can go connect with to find themselves. And there's no need to go and say, "Oh wow, that looks really cool. Let me take." I just I just kind of had something I want to say. Maybe it's a little bit foxy. I don't know, but
Hmm. Well, send it
um,
if you feel like
so
it.
I was I was recently my mind was kind of going because I do that. I give myself freedom of curious exploration in the scientific method of life. So what that means is that I can be as curious as I want to be, or as I don't want to be. I don't want to be, then I won't. But I like to let my mind wander, and I was recently watching some hoop dancers, and I was like, all these images of people, I don't know, remember when the hula hoop started becoming popular, maybe 50s, 60s, I'm not sure.
Whoa, I
But
didn't think that far back, huh? That's
right,
the
so
roots of the hoop. Like, look out,
yeah, the hula
ravers.
hoop. No, that's not the hula. Yeah, so I'm just thinking, you know what? You know what? The hula hoop kind of looks like a knockoff, like watered down version of a hoop dance. Because they take then one hula hoop or two or something, and they just move their hips like that, and then they mass the commercialize it. They have commercials and movies and shows and music videos and all kinds of stuff with people using hula hoops. And but who are they? Who are these people using the hula hoops? Mainstream people. And then maybe after it's all publicized and it's all popular and it's all settled and it's all here we go, then they say, oh, guess what? The hula hoop. Did you know that there were tribes back in the day that used to use hula hoops? Well, they weren't called hula hoops, they're just hoops, right? But you have to add an extra word to make it your own. So
Hmm.
there's so many things. That's just something simple, but I
So
mean,
you
if you
can,
look at the Bill of Rights or you look at different things like that, you're going to see that there's a lot of things that have been taken from and from as like they see something is seen as beautiful or as good or as whatever or as prosperous or as valuable. Like there's gold in them there hills, or there's oil in there, or there's diamonds, or all of these things, and this is a value to me. And because it's a value to me, that means it's mine and I get to use it. And what also that goes into how we treat each other. When we start looking at how we treat each other, and this is how we can tell if we're working from the colonization mind, is that when we see somebody, so I'll give this example. I recently saw this video of this woman, and she has jewels all over. She has rubies and diamonds, and she has sapphires, and she has emeralds, and she has all these beautiful things all over, all over, all over her. And so this is in a forest, and there's a river, and so there's a man crossing the river, and so she goes up to him. She found him fancy. And so she gave him a kiss. And when she gave him a kiss, a jewel was left on his lip, and she
Hmm.
went away. And then after she left, he realized, oh, there was a jewel on his lip left from that kiss. So he went to go find her. And as he is going through the forest and by the river, she sees him and she was happy and she swims up to him and she goes up to him and she goes to get close to him and he starts ripping all of the jewels off of her. And
Mm.
as he's ripping all of the jewels off of her,
I thought it'd be
blood
so.
is going everywhere because the jewels are part of her. They are her.
Wow. See,
She is the
I
jewel.
thought he was gonna go give the jewel back. I was
I
like,
know. Wouldn't
what?
you have? Wouldn't
Yeah.
you have? Right?
Well, yeah.
But instead, he saw a value in all of those jewels. And instead of valuing her, he said, let me take all of these jewels from her. And he ended up, because she was made up of the jewels, he ended up ripping her to pieces. And he
Whoa.
put all of the jewels into his bags. And then her blood was in the river. And so he's walking, he's climbing back through the forest with these huge, heavy bags full of jewels. And he gets tired and he gets thirsty. And then he drinks from the river. And when he drinks from the river, he's drinking her blood. So if
Mm.
we look at that and we look at that, how do we treat each other? We say, "Ooh, well, this person can do this, and that person can do that. And well, I need that, and I need that. So let me take advantage of this person.
Mm.
Let me take their jewels from them because I need them." Or we see the earth and we say, "Oh, look at these beautiful trees. They give us life. They give us air. They breathe. They give us knowledge. They're here for us. They love us. They counsel us." Instead of honoring them and respecting them and loving them and giving them back in return, look, I love you so much. Gestures of love. Instead, we what do? We cut them down and turn them into toothpicks, or we turn them into paper that we keep using and throwing away, or we do all of these different things that we really don't need. We have
Mm-hmm.
all of these things that we don't need, like
I
a paper
realized
cup,
that. I realized
right?
that
Maybe
big,
we don't want
big
to take
time.
use paper cups. Maybe when we go somewhere where there's going to be a public function, a community function, maybe we should start bringing our own plate and our own cup and our own spoon and fork instead of
Mm.
using paper cups and paper plates and things like
I
that.
mean,
So
that's a
that
really cool perspective. Like, but like although at the same time, it's like the collective society, like it's so conditioned. This is what I learned in Mexico. The convenience of USA is so easy to get a toothpick and a cup. You don't even have to take, you don't like that. When I was in Mexico, all I had was a backpack and a guitar that broke, eventually. So just had a backpack, in your book and clothes and a pen and I traveled around there and realized what you're talking about. Like I did have to bring my own cup because like or it's difficult to to go to places and like and travel in this way and at this point I realized how unimportant material objects are. Like this sombrero I got down there, like it's as special as I make it. Do you want it? You can have it. Come over tonight, and I'll gift it to you for sharing tonight because you have so much gems and golden fractals of light that are being blessed into these waves of social media. It's not and to me, but like I don't desire to take them. I already know them. I already understand as much as I know of you. Because we've created together the events and stuff and talked and hung out and been in talking circles and sweat lodges and we sweated and all that, and like I see what you're saying, and the convenience is almost like it makes it so easy to forget about the precious little things in life, like the little beetles you're talking about. I experienced that in the jungle with different insects. Like there's no street noise, there's no sirens, there's no ambulance, there's no cops, it's just peaceful. And then look at the grasshoppers mating, like look at the playing their little violins and like you can see the flowers as they glow and it changes slowly tranquility like through the changes of the sunrise and setting and the misto and the mist and like you can hear the droplets, each tiny little droplet of water. You don't get that in the city. Like
That's
even
the
that.
intricacy, the intricate beauty of the symphony of life.
Mm,
Yes, everything coming together, making its own little sound over here, over there. We're all connected, but we have our own individual song that we sing, and it comes together in harmony.
right,
I
right. And that's the thread of existence. It's funny that I would think that I pulled that card earlier. I don't know if it was for you or not, but it's called the thread from these decks. If you want me to read it, I can.
Yes,
This is
yes.
that's funny because this was actually the card I did pull for you. Um, so it's the thread from the archetypes deck, and it says here's a visual of it if you can see. I had actually accidentally pulled three, and this was the one that called to me. And
Well, I don't
uh,
think it was an accident. Nothing's an
yeah,
accident.
everything's perfect the way it is, even in
Yeah,
its
so
imperfect ways.
yeah,
So the path, the vein, the circuit, the thread, life is tangible. So much happiness simultaneously and circuitously. How's it tricky? Like leaving us grappling for meaning and direction in a network of distractions. What we're just talking about. When we
distraction.
when we connect to the energy of the thread, however, we strike the deepest vein in the body. Our whole being responds to the tug. Meaning is pumped through our bloodstream. Our mind and spirits are lifted. We remember who we are and what we came into this world to do. Through this happens on the most profound level, though this happens on the most profound level, it could be the simplest incident that activates the thread, like we were just talking about. Simplicities. Thread, a song, an image, a conversation heard in a passing. No matter how confusing and multi layered our modern lives become, if we are connected to the thread, we are free. Being tethered to it is the only anchor our heart requires. The tethered soul. If you go into the tethered soul, that's a whole other book. Wow, that's funny that I would pull that card for you. The thread of existence, man, and you taught me that red and Mashika. I always had many connections and attachments to the color red, and I actually did buy this necklace because of you. It's a skull, it has a bunch of skulls around. I wore it last night. It's red on Dia de los Muertos, and Mashika red
Energy.
is the color of universal consciousness, the thread of existence,
It,
right?
yeah, so everything that is sacred is wrapped in red.
Right. So when you dance, like in your ceremony, I remember that's when I learned that. I went with you to one of your Mashika dances, and you are all feathered out, and you had your bells on, and you're ready to, direction swing and do all that. Dance. It's so much fun. Those. And you
Yeah,
taught me.
so
I asked you.
we cover our center here with the red sash because we are protecting our sacred internal fire.
Mm,
And because as we're dancing or when we're in ceremony, there's energies, there's spirit, there's, so we cover that to protect because we protect our fire always. Number one is we must protect ourselves. We must take care of ourselves and then we can take care of someone else. So we always do that. And here we cover we wear a red sash too around our forehead to cover our third eye, to protect our third eye, because
mm,
there's a lot of different things going on, a lot of energies, a lot of things. So we are sacred. We're all sacred. So we are wrapped in red
yes.
because we are sacred. And when we dance, we are dancing sacred prayers, sacred songs, because to dance is for the body to sing. The body sings when we dance. That's how I see it, anyway.
Yeah, it's the we were talking earlier about the cosmic dance on life, and you express that indigenously through your roots of Mexica, and it is such an experience seeing it in person rather than like, watching these TikTok videos and stuff back then. And I've been to powwow first, and it's very similar. I saw Mayan dancers, in Sayulita. There was Mexica down there. I've seen they're all very different, but like Mexica's feathers compared to powwow natives, they're more like they're very sharp. Um, I do you know why that is? Like what like it's just
I
because
mean,
it
so
is?
that's creative expression, right? So, like
Yeah,
earlier was mentioned about the similarities and differences between Mayan and Mexica. So, if
right.
you look at the Mayan art, it's more rounded, and then
Mhm.
and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, Mexica's more pointed.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I just really like the pointed ones. That calls to me, the triangles, the squares, those things. Yeah, I like that type as opposed to the more rounded one. That's just what I it pleasantly calls to me in that way.
Because you are of that, it makes sense, correct? Yeah. I mean, it has its own beauty. Everyone has their own perspective on it, and that's the beauty of life that we get to have that. Like,
Yes.
I enjoy to experience all of it, like exist within this all of these different cultures. USA is like a melting pot of so much different like confusion and like unconditioned beliefs, as we know, and conditioned beliefs, as we know. And even being unconditioned, there's still some like scraping of the sky that must be done, like lack of better terms.
Well,
um
here's a thought, and it's not my thought originally, really. There was this woman, we recently went to a filming a showing of a documentary, and she was there in the audience. She was kind of part of helping out the team of the people who filmed the documentary. They're friends of ours. And so she said that instead of a melting pot or stew, how about a salad? Because a salad is not melting, but you have pieces. They're all different, but they all come together in a very nice way. You have
mm,
tomatoes, you have cucumbers, maybe you have carrots, and uh, who knows? Different people like to put different things in their salads, different types of lettuces. But if we all come together like that and just
right.
appreciate each one of our pieces.
You know what's funny is I have Italian roots in my ancestry. I just did my report and got my DNA test. All kinds of weird mixed up stuff in my ancestry. There's like Japanese, there's Italian, there's French, there's German, there's African American. I haven't even got the full results back yet. That was just the start. There's so much stuff in like this Cambodian. Like I'm like, where the heck is all this coming from? But like I can't stand olives, and I have a lot of Italian DNA. Like I'm not a pure blood anything. Like um, so wait, there must be something wrong with me. I
No,
can't.
here it's to the contrary. So,
Yeah.
here's what I found in my journey. When I was younger, I really had so many issues with my mixed background because there was a lot of that colonization mindset, to different degrees, varying degrees in different ways within my family from different people. And one of the things was there were a lot of them were against my brothers and I for being Mexican, having Mexican descent. And there were other different varying things and racism and all kinds of different things happening. So I was really at odds with different parts of myself, my blood, my DNA, whatever. And it wasn't until my son passed away when I just I left, and so I was like a blank canvas. I had nothing there. I had nothing. I didn't know anything. I didn't care about anything. I wasn't passionate about anything. There was nothing. All of those different conditionings, they left me. And then I had to bring myself back little by little by little. And as I did, I was evaluating, reevaluating those belief systems in different ways, and I was shedding. So by doing that also, I was able to connect with myself, with my DNA, with my different mix. So on my father's side, we have Spanish from Spain. That's colonizing blood,
Hmm.
right?
That's a whole ward into your brain in itself,
Right.
huh? Gosh.
But the cool thing is that our family, I mean, I don't know if you want to call it cool, but uh, our family was exiled from Spain in 1927. So before 1927, none of our family was out of Spain uh, and nowhere else. After 1927, our family is in Cuba, different parts of Mexico, Yucatan, um, and into Brazil. So there's the Spanish. So when my great grandfather, he then went to Mexico. My great grandmother is from the Tepehuanes. It's a indigenous tribe in Mexico, in Mezquital, Durango. And so I remember I didn't meet my grandmother, but I do remember a lot of things about her, stories, pictures, things like that, and just the whole story behind that. There's a lot of beautiful things about our tradition in that way.
Yes, I do.
Excuse me. Um, and it's amazing to be able to connect with both sides. My father, he's from Mexico City, and we're first generation born here in the US. On my mother's side is French, Cherokee, Deer Clan. So on both sides of the border, I have both colonizers and indigenous.
It's
So
like they're what?
yeah, so it was like I was really at odds with myself, trying to figure out who I am, what am I doing, why do I hate myself? There's no reason. Well, look, let me see. I'm looking, I'm doing some more investigation into myself, into my psyche, how I work. And I connect with my masculine and my feminine side because we all have masculine and feminine essence within us. We have the foundation, we have our left brain, or we have our mind, and then we have our right brain connected to our creativity with our heart. That's our feminine,
Mm.
or you want to do front and back.
Wow.
Um,
Okay. I had
and
a.
so when I look at that and I look at how does the masculine show up, and I see the masculine is very logical, the masculine is very structured, the masculine is very protective and creates that structure, that sturdy, creates the banks of the river, if you will. And then and I look at when I look at maybe European culture, I'm looking and I'm seeing that within the European culture or the colonizer culture, the ones that came this way. Well, I'm seeing there's what do you call that? Um, patriarchal patriarchal kind of ways of thinking and behaving. And I'm looking at and then I'm seeing, okay, there's structure, there's stability, there's all of these different things, but it's on a it's like hyper uh, ex-
Fixed
uh, expressed, like hyper
express. Yeah.
expressed maybe.
Wow. Okay.
Um, because there's an imbalance, because there's not an acceptance of maybe the importance of the feminine right there. And so then I'm looking at the feminine, and I'm looking how she shows up, and how that essence works and flows. So if you have the masculine as the banks of the river, then you have the feminine that is the water that flows within those banks. And that is how the
Mm,
masculine and feminine can work together. And so I'm looking and I'm seeing in my culture in Cherokee, we have clans, and in I'm part of the Deer clan, and each of those clans have a specific role within the community. So the Deer clan goes hunting and provides sustenance and nourishment to the rest of the people, to the rest of the community, and are also messengers. And if you look at the deer as well, the deer is can represent conscious enlightenment, can represent a lot of different things.
mm.
So in the Cherokee, we also have a council of grandmothers that look over all of the clans and see what is it, like a mother's going to look at her children, and she's going to look at, oh, what does my child need? What does that child need? What does this child need? And provide that. So in the Cherokee, we have the Council of Grandmothers that are looking over the all of the clans and seeing what is needed for everyone. And then there's a plan made, and then it's the males that then go forth and make sure that whatever was come up with by the grandmothers is then established.
Mm. Salud.
So it's not so much that people look at matriarchal, patriarchal. The way that I see it is that it's the masculine and it's the feminine working together in harmonic balance for the benefit of all of the people. And so if we can find that harmonic balance within ourselves, and so when I look at my different makeup of, I have European and I have indigenous, when I look at that, I look, how can we work together and be and go forth as a one being, because I'm one being but I have a split, right? How do I mend that split and work together in harmonic balance within myself? And so by loving and accepting all of who I am is the only way to do that.
Accepting, yes, and that's your own personal engineering and perspective, or perspective of what you think you are, and that goes into like yo soy, I am. So I am a product of my environment first and foremost. I may appear to be a gringo, but when I ran away from home as a misfit, I got adopted by Chicanos, so I became a product of that environment. When I ran away from in this other environment to 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 run from myself and do what I was doing at the time, I got adopted by an African American family. I was a product of that environment. And then I come to Colorado and I got generously welcomed by the Native American community. As you know, the last 3 years I've been going to sweats and Lakota Way and talking circle and powwows. I become a product of that environment. So I found in Mexico through Tezmascali, it's their version of a sweat lodge, that yo soy, I am, is a very important expression because anything that comes after that activates my corazon, my heart. And me and Doug were talking about this last night. And the good feather, who you know, are one of our elders of ours, and we were talking about how it's been reversed because it's reversal, and you talk about in Spanish, like when you were reading the book and you're showing that how it's Spanish language and English is actually backwards. um if you compare the two, like it, so you look at we are all indigenous to Mother Earth. Like, to set aside labels and stuff, I have trouble with that too. Set aside labels. we're all indigenous to Mother Earth, as he says in Think Indigenous, his book. And I 100% adopt that belief and put it in my vernacular because it is scientifically true. We go into the tierra, the dirt, when we die and become part of the star seeds in the sky and the metaphysical network of energy due to quantum physics. And so like everything roots from, like you said, from the tree, the mycelium network through the ground and and up through our feet. Why back then moccasins were worn before rubber was invented. Before moccasins there was just feet. And then the energy comes through got Mother Gaia, through Pachamama, through the feminine, the land, through us. It comes through our chakra system, through our energetic body, up through the through the sacral, through the root, through the root, sacral, solar plexus, through the heart, through the throat, through the mind, and then your astral, and then going into the 13th chakras. If you look into native culture, and it gets to the heart before I even have a chance to think. But for some reason, some guy or some person, who knows who they were back in those days, whenever it happened, can I think it may have been during the Rockefeller days, who knows, switched it to I think therefore I am type of thought, so we lose the feels where like we
See, that's a lot. That is one of the colonizer ways, because if you look at everything was switched in order to colonize a people.
mhm,
Everything was switched. Everything
mhm.
that was good was made bad, and what was bad was made good.
Right, and that was what tripped me out in Mexico, cause like I was down there and like I'm like, why is everything backwards? Like everything I ever been taught is backwards, but this feels so right. Like
See,
it
this
feels
is
so
the
good and
importance of
pure.
travel. This is the
Yeah.
importance of travel, and not just travel, like I'm gonna go and be a tourist, but travel and actually be there in that environment and live in it and know it in every aspect of whatever it is. Like the last 2 years, well, now I've been here a year now in Colorado, but before that I was traveling and I stayed in Arizona for a while. And I love all of my Arizona people so much.
Yeah, shout out
Arizona is so
AZ.
beautiful. I love the energy. Well, the land, no matter where I go, I love the earth. I love the land. Not always is the land treated the way that it should be. Not always is the earth treated the way that she should be treated. And so there's a
Mm-mm.
lot of different violations that happen. And then what happens is this energy is created, and then the people on there start to go kind of crazy a little bit because the energies have been, the vibrations have been messed up.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you
Uh,
can tell, like in Arizona, people deal with a lot with different things, difficulties, or even beauties that nobody deals with in Colorado. Nobody can even know about. Or nobody deals with in Oregon, Idaho. Every place is different.
mm,
California, Arizona,
because
New Mexico, everything is different. Everything.
they're
And
structured
so
that way. Yeah.
when we travel and we go and be part of the earth, part of the land, part of the people, and we get to know it in such an intimate way as we know ourselves, then we get a different perspective on everything and we see things can be changing. That's why I think it's important. I have this friend, he told me, a friend in Oregon, I mean, sorry, a friend in Idaho, and he told me before I left, he said, I think that everybody should go. How did he say it? I think he said gypsy or something like that. I can't
Hmm.
remember. For at least a year in their life, because you never know what you're missing. And when you start going and traveling nomad style, and you just start connecting with everything that's there and traveling,
Well, there's a
you
difference
see
between
some.
what you're saying. Like, I get what you mean, like nomad self versus gypsy. Like, in my ancestry, like gypsy's actually a culture in Europe. Like, there's like They were like the tricksters and the gangsters of Europe, kind of, to me, in my perspective. And what's that one movie with Brad Pitt, the gypsies, and they're fighting and stuff. It's like there, it's a whole part of my lineage, I've looked into. And but I agree with you. Like the nomad, the re-alchemized version of like a gypsy nomad today is just like a hippy dippy thing. Um, you know, you didn't want to mess with a real gypsy back in European days. Like you don't. That's like running in the hood. That's like the mob. And you got to love the roots of it, where it came from. It's funny how it got turned into a nomad, and I agree with you that like takes like the dream of mine is to get a van and just like put it put it like a little recording studio in it, and just play brag on my guitar and a laptop. That's all I need, and just drive and forget social media. Just like come back in a year
Do
and see
it.
what happened.
Do it.
I
You
mean,
know
like,
what? We'll all be here when you get back. We'll all be here.
yeah, or 6 months. Let's say 6 months. Like who knows? Who knows what will happen? I can't. I'm not a fortune teller, but like, a lot of people do the van life, and like, or like even backpack. I met a traveler in Mexico from Germany, with just a backpack and a hammock, who made his way to Canada, to New Orleans, to Mexico, to Brazil, to Argentina, back up through all the parts of Mexico to the jungles where we are. We picked them up to help us build a chicken coop house into a mini home, and then brought them to the coastline. And we're chilling in like Sayulita and San Pancho area, and like, and found out he's actually well versed. He knows German, how to speak German, and he sleeps in a hammock, speaks German, Spanish, and English, and he types poems on an old school typewriter, and that's how he makes his travel around the world. He's supposed to speak on Mauricio. I call him Mauricio, but he's such a cool character, and like he sleeps in a hammock and he travels the world and he makes these poems as and goes to people and like, would you like a poem? If he speaks in Spanish or German, and he mixes them the languages together, and they tip him donations for the paper that comes out the old school typewriter. And I'm that is a true definition of a nomad. And when I met him, like his etheric, like ethereal touch with the threads that we're talking about, I was like, whoa, this is a guy who's sat alone in the middle of the jungles in a hammock in Brazil with nothing but himself and solitude. And there's bears and jaguars out there and mountain lions, and like he would ask me questions like, why would you throw that away? I'm like, what? It's that's like, I don't need it. It's just like, because I want to. I'm done with it. Like, and he was, it was like a piece of food, and like we were all at the time like trying to survive off of the little we did have left, in the jungle. And I was like, I realized at that moment how precious survival techniques are from this guy, and through this tiny
Can
thread.
I add something there? Because
Yeah,
because
please.
you just sparked something
Yeah.
for me is that one thing that I see when I see animals and I see plants and I see people, and then I see the stories that, oh, the animals are wild, you can't touch them, or humans are so bad for nature and we need to stay away from, well, look, we're killing off all the animals. Well, here's the thing. If all of these legislations and all of these litigations and all of these um, cutting offs of territories and this and that and all of these things, all those things go away, and we're just left to be with the land, to be with the plants, and to be with the animals, we're going to do exactly what it is that humans came here to do, that
Mm,
humans are here to be. We're stewards of the land, we're stewards of the animals, we're stewards of the elements. And when we are here living within our purpose, when we're here living with just, I mean, we can do so many beautiful things. We can we can be a blessing. We we can be blessed
That
as
part.
we are being blessings to the
Mm.
animals, to the earth, to the plants, and we're friends with them. And and I know that we can be friends with animals, whether they're wild or not, supposedly wild, because I know just in my own family, my my grandfather and my father and his family, they lived in Acapulco for a time, and in that time, my grandfather was working. He was part of the World Trade. He had a nightclub. He worked during he did tourism. He had a yacht.
Mm.
He did little tourist type parties and stuff in the bay there in Acapulco. And he
Nice.
had friends that made movies, directors and producers that made movies. And one of the movies that they were making was Tarzan. It was the old black and white Tarzan. And there was a Black
Hey.
Panther in that movie. And when they were finished filming the movie, they went to my grandfather and they said, "We're finished with the movie and we don't know what to do with this panther. Do you want her?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll take her." So our family had a Black Panther in
Wow.
yeah, from
I
the
got one
movie
right here.
Tarzan.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so we can live with supposed ferocious beasts, right? We don't have
Yeah.
to be afraid when we shed that fear and we start just living with purpose. Let's start planting, all kinds of plants, all kinds of everything. Get rid of all of these things that tell us that we're not part of nature, that we shouldn't be part of nature, that we have to be separate and apart from it. And let's start being part of nature. And then we won't need
Mm.
survival tactics because we'll already be living and thriving.
Right. When you embody being nature itself and being what it is, start to understand that more. Um, I just had a vision. It was like the difference between foods here and there. Have you ever had a jackfruit just wild off the tree?
Oh no, but I have had a jackfruit, but not wild off the tree. That'd be
Oh my
awesome.
gosh. It's like freaking candy. Like it's like forget the candy store in Minneapolis or whatever the world's biggest candy, Charlie chocolate, whatever. Like you have a jackfruit off the tree, just like and it just freely given to you. It's just it's so sweet. Like it's not processed. It's just, wow. This stuff is massively. It just dude, the jungle's everywhere. Like
Yes,
you get that up here too in places like in Seattle or Washington or Oregon. There's apples growing off trees you can pick. Like the oranges and like down there in Georgia or peaches or Florida oranges or stuff like that. But like there's some different kind of fruits that I've experienced and
so
it's
here's the
like
thing, we can make the earth a paradise, even in the desert. The desert can be a paradise even. There's this guy in Arizona and it's pretty deserty, I'll tell you.
yeah.
And he started making paradise cities in Arizona. He made this city just all plants. Different plants that match the region that can do that, and he made a beautiful city.
Hmm.
Um, Also, I
We'll have
wanted
to check.
to say to the contrary, we can make paradise, and we can stop doing things like, for instance, right now when I went to Costa Rica, I was actually shocked. It was the first time I went, and when I got on the plane, there were all kinds of people from all different places. And when I got to Costa Rica, this beautiful, place, so beautiful, and with jungle and different and beach and all kinds of stuff, right? And there's fruit everywhere. So you know how we have snowstorms here, we have to watch out for the ice. Oh,
Right.
the bananas in the street are more slippery than the ice here. And so we have to be careful,
That's
when
it.
driving
That's
through
it.
Costa Rica because you have fruit just falling from the trees and slicking up the road. And there's curves and they're windy and they're small. And so,
Yeah.
but here's the thing. We have this beautiful paradise place, and now we have all of these colonizers going in right now, and they're monopolizing everything because there's not a lot of laws that can protect those things over there, and there hasn't been um, I think an
Yeah.
established army since the 70s, and so you have all of this variety of fruit and animals and things, and then you have all these pesticides. You cannot just grab some fruit in Costa Rica anymore and just eat it because they're spraying so many pesticides everywhere
Mm.
that is penetrating all of the fruit. And so even if you wash the outside of the fruit, there's still those pesticides inside of there. So
See
what are we
that.
doing to these paradises, these beautiful places? What are we doing instead of let's go and create more? Why are we
Right. Right.
here?
Right. But the thing is, it's like we can create more, but like if I'm not created that within, like it's silly, so we keep saying it like the paradise is within first before it's without,
Exactly.
outside externally. So like, so everyone, I'm guilty of it, like reaching for the stars or reaching for this or that to solve my internal issue. Like I must be in the heavens and gardens and water my internal gardens. And I found that in San Pancho when I was lived there for a month down there by myself in San Pancho in Mexico. I split from my buddy and found a place and found solitude and found my people down there. Instantly, it was like boom, this place grabbed my heart. It grabbed my dark side, and it showed me how beautiful it was. Like kept seeing
Oh,
the number
yes.
27, like 27 every single day, like everywhere. And that's to say, 27 club, blah blah blah. You can attach it to things, but like it was showing me how beautiful. Like, and I'm like, here's your garden of light. Here's your garden of darkness. Now this darkness is a garden of light too. You are one. You are whole. You are protected. You are loved. I am an embodiment of love, and I am an ambassador of my wholeness. And like it's like there is no sides anymore. Like I am radiating pure like loose like light, like that's what that luz is, like electricity, a light and expressed in Espanol. And I found that there, and it took facing some dark, what some may call demons or demonized creatures of deities and this and that have been placed and conditioned into our mindsets, whether or not our subconscious realized it or not. And it showed me in one day. One day it was like I just walked. I was like, I'm in love with myself, with this place, with this reality, with life. La vida es eterno, which means ethereal in Spanish. So I went and got this tattooed on my hands. It says gracias eterno, eternal gratitude, like you would say. Wopila means eternal. It's almost similar. Just kind of made up my own thing. It was fun, but so I embodied that darkness down there. It was on the second supermoon. We just hit the third supermoon last night, and it was a fire supermoon. And I took flowers that someone, one of those cart pushers, that like a cart, the cartilla, the guy, like, and I bought these flowers, like bouquet, like you would give to a date, on a girl or what, a guy or a woman, and I go down to the beach on La Playa, and I do a ceremony in the darkness by myself with the waves, with the oneness of the water, the elements, my feet buried in the sand. La Luna is shining so bright and supermassive, triple moon three. And we were talking about the threes earlier with Clayton, like 369. And each flower I had from that bundle, I was planting seeds, gifting seeds, honoring people and energies and things that and out of generosity, gratitude, and just whooping it out. And then the last, throwing them into the ocean. They're all seeds I was planting, and like of gratitude and thankfulness, and things yet to come to manifest. And I took the last one. I believe it was like looked like some like a almost like a sunflower, but it wasn't. It wasn't a Dia de los Muertos flower. There's no way. But I stuck it in the sand and it sat there. I said, I don't know what this seed is, but it's my vision for my higher purpose. Something like that. And I waited there until the tide got high enough, and the moon's gravity pushed that tide to crash over that last flower, and it took Pachamama took it into the ocean. And then I turned around and I said, "Thank you, La Luna. Gracias, con todo mi corazón, with all my heart." Right. So like, um, it was such a beautiful moment to connect with down there, and it's just like all organic. Um, it's something I can't explain. It's like it's science would say it's the this and that in quantum physics, but I still believe there is something unseen we cannot explain that they would just say God or Dios or Takashala or Allah or Jah, like whatever you want to call it. Back in the Jewish days in the Kabbalah, there were you were not allowed to even say Elohim. It was like or well, you're not. There is no word for it. It's just
You can see it, you can feel it, you can breathe it, it's
touch it.
there.
You can
Your
taste it.
essence.
You
It
can smell
dances with
it.
your essence.
Hear it. It's
Yeah.
all of it.
I
Yeah,
just
that's.
have my phone is about to die. I'm running out
We
of
need to have a.
battery.
We need to have a ceremony, a celebration of life. Your phone.
I know I wanted to do a meditation before I went out. And I need to go pick up my son, but
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think there's time because you've gone through my meditation before, and it
Oh,
was
it's a
I
30
don't know
minute
if you
meditation.
finished, if you were able to put music to it or anything, sound to it or
Uh,
anything, but just even
Not
without
yet.
that, it was a
No.
half an hour, I think, wasn't it?
At least it was like 27, 8 minutes, 22 half hour, somewhere around there. It's a long meditation.
Yeah,
It
uh,
deserves the respect of sound healing. I didn't
it
bring it
does.
with me to Mexico. But I do desire to now co-create with Petey, who spoke this morning at 11:11 Mexican time on the playa. Um, and maybe he's the one to put the sound to it. So thanks for bringing that to my attention. I
Oh,
still do
good.
have
That
that.
would be good. I've been really looking forward to it, and I've been patiently waiting for you to come back. And I'm like, okay, Jason, it
Oh,
would be good to
it,
let's finish up the meditation. That would be awesome.
so yeah, look forward to her black hole meditation with some sound healing. If I can convince old Pedro down there to do the sound bowls for me, I think he
Yeah,
might.
that'd be awesome. You could do that. That would be amazing.
Yeah, though, if not,
Yeah.
I'll do it myself.
And
Actually,
if
I can do a quick one right here. Since I did see Lucia posted the green heart with the salad on your comment, I can show you that. Uh, to honor
oh
the
yeah.
heart chakra, we can go out with that real quick if you would like.
Okay,
Um,
yes, yes. And green is the frequency of healing. So
mm,
um in the
perfecto.
how do we go beyond our impossible? We heal.
Okay, so let's get
And
our heel on.
yeah, let's get our heal on.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Winds of the north, east, south, west, above, below, and within. The breath of God. Jeez. Fuck. I almost just broke that. Yeah. Okay. Huh. Those scrapes are scraping the sky. They're downloads. Can teach
I can't get the full effect of the bowl
or lower it.
because
Probably
usually
because
when
you
I
don't.
hear,
Do you have
uh-huh,
headphones? Do you have headphones on?
I don't, I don't.
That's why I've got headphones on. It helped with PDs. Well, we can do this for you. Maybe it will ring. Do a little. Con todo mi corazón, all the love of my heart. Thank you, Margarita, for joining and sharing your
Thank,
wisdom.
thank you. Thank you so much. I wanna also got our friend here, a relative, our sage, and I just want to give thanks, and I want to thank you, Jason, so much for putting all this together and for bringing everyone forward, and thank you, Lucia, for helping, and thank you. I'm not sure all who helped you, but everyone who helped you put this together, for everyone who came and spoke and shared wisdom and shared love and shared healing. Because I believe that when we share our wisdom, we're sharing love too, um, because we're carrying that forward for our future generations. And that shows love to our children because
Mm,
we can't just leave them. Can't just leave them hanging. We can't just leave them without any kind of anything. They need us and they need our support
mm,
and they need our love and they need our care and they need our guidance. And that's something that we have a responsibility to. We're not just here. We're not just, oh, I'm me, I have children, I have grandchildren, and I love them very much. And if I love them, that means I'm going to give them the tools that they need in order to be, um, happy, healthy, balanced, and excuse me.
salud.
Um, thank you.
De
So I want
nada.
to thank everyone I want to thank all the black sheep of the families, the ones who are stepping forward and choosing to break the and shatter the norms
Mm.
and to bring that. I love all my nonconformists. Thank you so much. Thank you so much because what is it? I saw this sign. It said, it's the, is it the strange ones that bring change or something like that? Anyways, no, it's the different ones who make the difference.
Ah, I like
Yes,
that
it's the
one.
different ones who make the
Yeah.
difference. So thank you everyone for being different. Thank you
Mm.
everyone for being boldly and unapologetically you and who you are and sharing that with the world and sharing that with your friends and your family and sharing that with the community. That's true love right there. Just being able to honor yourself and honor others through that honoring of yourselves. So thank you so much, very, very, very much. And um, may everyone go forth happy, healthy, with all of the tools that they need in order to um, bring their difference to the world because I want to see your difference. I want to know your difference. I want to feel your difference. And your difference is special, your difference is unique. And even though we are all connected and we are all one, we have beauty to share, each and every one of us. And we don't need to go taking jewels off of anybody else or anything else in order to
Yeah, we
be
already
that
have
value.
them. We already have them within. We just got to
Yes,
discover them.
exactly.
Yes, we.
Exactly. We're full of those too. All we have to do is look internally, and we're going to see that beauty that we have. We're going to see that value that we have, and we're going to honor ourselves, and we're going to honor others.
Mm,
And when we share, when we see the beauty that we have, when we see that value and we share, when we share that to others, we're sharing love. And so thank you everyone for sharing your love, and may you all be well. Thank you.
thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Margarita.
O Mateo,
Oh,
Jessica Mike.
Mateo. Oh, Mateo. Hey, much love.
Thank you.
Mu- Con gusto. We'll see you later. Have a blessed night. Thank you
Later.
so much.
Thank you. Night.
Like.